Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. My group will present about religious tolerance in Abrahamic tradition. Before that, my name is Muhamad Yassin bin Jamiran. My metric number is 1181754 and I am as a first presenter. I will present about definition of religious tolerance in a perspective Islam, Christianity and Judaism. Let's go to the Islamic perspective about religious tolerance. Firstly, tolerance has been widely accepted as a virtue related to human conduct. It deals with all aspects of human life, religious affairs, sexual practices, free expression, and ethnic matters. Secondly, the word in Arabic which is widely used to denote tolerance is tasammuh. The root form of this word has two connotations, generosity and secondly ease. Third, tolerance is an attitude of someone towards others which involves two parties. It could be tolerance of someone towards his own self or towards others, which is more common than the first. This is Islamic perspective about religious tolerance. And now let's go to Christianity perspective. The concept of religious tolerance at both intra and intra-levels presupposes that there are various religious claims in the marketplace. It also predisposes that the context is pluralistic, which generally should stimulate equal rights, acceptance, accommodation, a life and let life situation despite the competitive forces of doctrines for the superlative. Second, within this context, true tolerance as a virtue aligned with other virtues such as humility, respect and courtesy, by which each person or group of persons is entitled to defend his or her understanding of what is good for human beings by rational arguments and to attempt to persuade others that it is in fact true, is further predicated within a non-hierarchical framework of equality and non-discrimination. And lastly, let's go to the Judaism perspective about religious tolerance. From Judaism perspective, the idea of religious tolerance can be summarized in the statement that you must not reject or expel people of different religious backgrounds on the grounds of their religious beliefs. Behind this message is a notion that religious doctrines should no longer be subjected to discussion. Still, if we are to define to what extent religious tolerance is granted, it is inevitable that we must focus our attention on religious doctrines. So, that's all a meaning or definition from perspective Islam, Christianity and Judaism. That's all from me. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Muhammad Hafizi bin Abdullah. My metric number is 11817 and 45. Now, I will explain about the chapter 2, the application of religion tolerance in Abrahamic religion. Firstly, the application of the religion tolerance in Islam. There are two types of tolerance in Islam. The first type of tolerance in Islam is tolerance in belief. A review of the Quran shows that Islam believes in tolerance in the sin of belief. Tolerance in Islam does not arise from indifference towards religion and relativity in knowledge, which is one of the important foundations for tolerance in contemporary age. It is grounded in Islam understanding of the nature of reward and prophecy. The second type of tolerance in Islam is tolerance in behavior. Besides bearing the opposing belief, the behavioral tolerance has a great importance in provision of a society whose capacity to bear others is high. As tolerance in the sin of belief did not mean being indifferent toward right and wrong, tolerance in the sin of ethic and behavior does not mean being indifferent toward improper and indecent behavior as it has been mentioned before. But in practice, the rule dominating the behavior toward others, either with fellow Muslim or non-Muslim, both concerning their belief or behaviors, to neglect the further size and show kindness and gentleness, or even more, to respond to the evils with kindness. Next, the application of religion tolerance in Christianity. Although Christian authorities today not infrequently preach tolerance, it is important to remember that the tradition of Christianity is one of intolerance. Unlike most contemporary religions, Christianity prohibits its believers from worshipping others' God or engaging in alien practice. It was also a universal religion which claimed to be the only true religion for all humanity. Christianity taught that it was the only religion valid to anybody at all. It was a religion freely chosen by men. They were free to choose, and they should. Christianity was also a religion that seeking to convince people that all other religions were evil and to condemn them as such.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Muhammad Bukhari bin Muhammad Zuki, metric number 1181750. Okay, now we go through the application of religious tolerance in Judaism. Religious freedom does not come naturally to Judaism. Within classical Judaism, there can be no theological tolerance, since that would mean giving credence to religious ideas known from the perspective of Torah to be incorrect. In its core ethical statements, the Ten Commandments, the Torah begins by declaring exclusive worship of the God of Israel. The Torah author understood that the temptation of idolatry was great, and the people could not be expected to come to pure monotheism through reasoning alone. The punishment for worshipping another god or the God of Israel in the wrong way was death, either by a human court or divine decree. Even so, the law of classical Judaism demands a striking level of social tolerance and acceptance of the other. Judaism, like Christianity and Islam, resolve the problem of evil that is endemic to monotheism by appeal to a last judgment and the promise of eternal life for those who are justified. In the eternal life, the anomalies of this world, where the wicked prosper and the righteous suffer, are resolved. During the age of Romanian Empire, Jews accepted the religious tolerance as an extension of political tolerance. Initially, Judaism fulfilled Roman criteria for tolerance because of legal protection afforded Jews by Julius Caesar, who granted Jews exemption from imperial tax and military service. Despite Jewish revolts against Rome, states tolerance of Judaism continued because of political and religious concessions made by Jews to Rome in the wake of Trajanic and Hadrianic wars. Pagan Rome could afford to be tolerant of Judaism in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th centuries because the religion ceased to be a political danger. Judaism regained its status as a legal religion after its rabbinic leadership agreed to give up active religious proselytism among Gentiles. Although Jews did not participate in the state's cult, this mattered little, for it was legal for them not to do so. More significant to Rome was that Jews were no longer an active adversary of tutelary God and their emperors. In brief, Judaism could be tolerated as the religion of a small and comparatively minority without radical and subversive religious doctrines. That is to say, since it was no longer an enemy to the political order, Judaism was tolerated by the Imperium Romanum. In a nutshell, the three monotheist religions, which is Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, find it difficult to tolerate one another, but impossible to tolerate any religion beside themselves. The logic of monotheism, there is only one God who governs all things, yield little basis for tolerating other religions. So, while religious toleration forms a natural attitude for secular people who believe nothing, or for polytheists who believe everything, religious resources of tolerance do not flow abundantly out of theology of monotheism. Even so, these three religions do tolerate the idea of religious freedom. The people all over the world are free to choose the religion for themselves or to choose nothing, but it is recommended for people to join their religion, especially in Christianity and Islam teachings.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ahmad Aniq bin Ahmad Zabri. My matrix number is 1181755. I will present about the analysis of the similarities and differences concept of religion tolerance between Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. Religious tolerance refers to the ability to appreciate spiritual values, beliefs, and practices which are different from your own. This matter is a complex one due to the great diversity of religions and spiritual beliefs existing in the world today. Now, we will look to the similarities of religion tolerance between these three religions, which is Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. These three Abrahamic religions share the same definition and concept of tolerance. First, we will going to take a look at Judaism's concept of tolerance. The idea of religious tolerance can be summarized in the statement that you must not reject or expel people of different religious backgrounds on the grounds of their religious beliefs. This message is a perception that religious doctrines should no longer be subjected to discussion. If we still want to define to what extent religious tolerance is granted, it is inevitable that we must focus our attention on religious doctrines. Next, we will look at Christianity's views. From their perspective, the context of religious tolerance is pluralistic, which generally should be stimulate equal rights, acceptance, accommodation, life and let life situation despite the competitive forces of doctrines for the superlative. Within these contexts, true tolerance, which is each person or group of persons is entitled to defend their understanding by rational arguments and to attempt to persuade others with non-hierarchical framework of equality and non-discrimination. And based on Islam, tolerance means respect, acceptance, and appreciation of the rich diversity of world's cultures, form of expression, and ways of being human. Tolerance is an attitude of someone towards others which involves two parties. It could be the tolerance of someone towards his own self or towards others. Tolerance happens in the situation in which conflicting disagreement happens between two individuals or groups where there is no way for each of them abandon their own concept in order to accept of the other group. So, this is the similarities between these three Abrahamic religions, which is each of them believe that the concept of tolerance is to respect, acceptance by not rejecting other people's concepts and backgrounds. Now, we will going to take a look at the differences between them. There are differences in each of their practicing of tolerance. Some of them are tolerance and intolerance. Firstly, we will look at Islam. Yes, Islam is practicing tolerance. There are two types of tolerance in Islam, which is tolerance in belief and tolerance in behavior. First, tolerance in belief. A review of the Quran shows that Islam believes in tolerance in the scene of belief. This is based on two foundations, which is nature of reward and nature of prophecy. The nature of reward, which is through this very power of selection that human will enjoy reward and punishment. And for nature of prophecy, which is based on principle that prophets are heralds and admonishers who convey divine message to people and not force people to prosperity in this world and hereafter. And the second type of tolerance in Islam is tolerance in behavior. In practice, the rule dominating the behavior towards others, either with fellow Muslims or non-Muslims, both concerning their beliefs or behaviors, is to neglect the fallacies and show kindness, or even more, to respond to the evils with kindness. Then, for Judaism and Christianity, they both is practicing intolerance. For Judaism, the grounds for intolerance are rooted in the nature of covenant as organizing a society of holiness and justice. In its core ethical statement, the Ten Commandments, the Torah begins by declaring exclusive worship of the God of Israel. And the punishment for worshipping another God or the God of Israel is wrong way, the punishment was death, either by human court or divine decree. And lastly, for Christianity, although toleration is today not infrequently preached by Christian authorities, it is important to recall that the tradition of Christianity is one of intolerance. They prohibit its believers from worshipping other gods or engaging in alien practices. Besides, they also thought that it was the only religion that valid to everybody. So, this is the differences between these three Abrahamic religions, where some of them are tolerance and intolerance. As a conclusion, the similarities between these three Abrahamic religions is the three religions share the same definition and concept of tolerance, and for the differences, there are some tolerance and intolerance. That's all from my part. Thank you.